carried with it the lawful possession of the lands themselves, cherished a dream of his own, of a spiritual empire, wherein the lands were divided among the abbeys and monasteries, and where the bishops ruled the cities, and the patriarch ruled them all, only to Rome. Bohemond might never come back from his captivity, and Baldwin might never make the journey to Jerusalem unharmed. Edessa was far off in the hills, and Eimbert, it seems, had sent his secretary to Bohemond before he learned of the Normans' captivity, suggesting that Bohemond and by force from coming to made his plans. Whether he knew it or not, he was opening a rift between the iron men and the robed men. No longer were the priests and the men of arms in full sympathy, as they had been during March, or during Godfrey's leadership. But he had not taken into account one thing. The Muslims heard of Godfrey and the imprisonment of Maimon. They had looked on Godfrey as the king of the Christians, arm of the conquerors. Now both were removed from the scene, just when Raimond, Count of Toulouse, had and the great fleet of the Venetians disappeared. From Caravanserai to Mosque, and the nearest sultans rode in to raid. Bands of horsemen beset them in Ramlach. At this time in October, Baldwin started down from Edessa, leaving his great principality in the hands of his youthful cousin, Baldwin de Bourges, to take up the reins that Godfrey had let fall. And what happened to him is related by Baldwin rode with a small army indeed, some 200 mounted knights and men-at-arms, and 700 and priests. From Antioch Tripoli he was warned that the Muslims had assembled in the narrow passes where the red hills of Lebanon shoulder close to the sea. Many of his following dropped out and went back without informing him. So says Fouché. Concerning the trap the Turks laid upon the road, and the admirable courage of Count Baldwin, city of Beirut, there is a narrow pass on the highway, which we and all travellers going that way must cross. We went. When our scouts approached the pass, they beheld some Turks, apart from the rest, coming toward us, and not watching out at all. When our scouts saw them, they thought that a strong body of the enemy might. Straightway they sent back word to Lord Baldwin by one of the riders. When he heard of this, he ordered his men-at-arms, and raising up, then straightway the enemy came against our first group. Some of them were killed at once, and 4 of our men, in truth, lost their lives. After both sides had drawn back from the Baldwin to pitch our camp and extend our lines on the spot to which we had advanced. Thus we would not seem so timid to the enemy as if we had withdrawn from the place of fighting. Although, with the contrary, we pretended to be fearless, but we feared death. It was hard enough to go back, but worse to go on. We were hemmed in everywhere by our enemy. Along the shore, on the slopes of the mountains, they crowded around us. That day brought us nothing